Okay, good. I'd like to move around, so hopefully I don't go too far away from the mic. Um, I am basically a designer, graphic designer. I'm not a typographer. I love type in all forms. I mean, type in graphic design without it doesn't mean anything. I am a professor and division director in Florida A&M University in USA. Um, I love to do research. I am doing some research. I am a Fulbright scholar. I'm trying to do more partnerships with everybody. So end of the lecture, if you have thoughts and ideas, do about that. This lecture is really, and I'm going to keep it short because I know we're running out of time also a little bit. So this was just an approach to typography when I started talking and looking at how different languages and types have so many tough rules, especially the ancient, the older, not ancient, but the older cultures, languages like Mandarin, Urdu or Hindi, even Arabic or Persian. These are really old languages which are not given due time or respect, and nowadays people are listening and talking about them. So I just thought, how can I think of them as together? I know we talk about our differences and keeping uniqueness about it. People do talk about that. In some of my AIGA conferences, I've seen that how designers are very conscious about keeping the diversity element over here. I teach at a historically black university. This is the largest historically black university in America, Florida A&M University. So I come from a diverse background. I was born in Pakistan and raised in Pakistan. I went to college in Ohio State. Anybody from Ohio? Anybody? USA, maybe? USA. There you go. There's somebody. Where are you from?
I'm from San Francisco.
San Francisco. Okay, beautiful. Been there twice. Love. One of the best cities in the world. I don't know about Paris and San Francisco, but one can argue about that. So, it's been a journey. I worked in advertising, got into teaching also. So I see things, I have actually a disability, which I found out through the years that I look at words, letters, I'm very bad at spellings. And I did not realize that till when I got into college or some time where I realized this thing. To give my telephone number, I have to look at the digits, how they move around. I cannot memorize it. So I have a very strong visual memory. So yeah, great thing about an artist and a designer, but there's a little problem with that. So if there is a spelling mistakes, forgive me on that. Because it is really coming like that. I probably know the spelling, but I forget about that. It's just that I see things visual. So when I look at typography, I look at them as design elements. Rather than words which are bring together with all the rules and rigidity. So I started talking with professors in Pakistan and looking at the Urdu script and calligraphy, and there's the calligraphers and then there are the designers. They never work together. I worked in Pakistan in an advertising agency in my 20s, which was the largest. And I don't know if you know, there was an agency called McCann Erickson. I think it's called now McCann something now. At that time, it was the largest agency. So we had creative directors coming from England, Hong Kong, Australia. One creative director liked to stay there for almost 2.5 years. So I worked under him. So we had this whole multinational group of people, but we were snobs. We were the designers. I was the American designer, definitely highly paid and all that. But I was in the right time at the right place with technology coming in. There were old studios who would handwrite English letters, cut and paste them, then, all those different ways of doing it. And the same was happening with Urdu also. And all we had to do was we came up with English designs. My clients, Coca-Cola and Nestle, were all Western, oriented, So there's a huge difference. We did not like that. So when I was doing in college and doing my research, I was just like, I got to do something, go back for Pakistan and see, can that be brought together? So one of my research is going to be published soon. The paper is done about doing conceptual design logos in Urdu with Urdu fonts. So I was taking them as design elements. Just like I think everybody knows what's so great about Amazon logo, correct? So it was just, the A to Z, the smile, there's whole meanings to it, we bring happiness to you. I did not read about it. I just looked at it and I judged it. I, on purpose, did not want to read about what Amazon logo signifies because as a designer, I want to see what does it tell me. So it's told me it can give you from player, we are happy to bring you products from A to Z, or, you're happy to get all the products from A to Z. So there's a lot of things like that. I am sure everybody knows about FedEx, right? FedEx logo, everybody knows about that. Anybody who doesn't know, please leave. So I tell my students, I was just like, if I did that logo, I'm done with life. I have contributed to humanity because of the simplicity of it, how simple and easy. And it's just like, did they really come up with it, or was it accidental? I'm sure as designers and creative people, a lot of things happen by accident. So that's the background I'm coming from. So looking at typography as a design element. So I am probably not the right person in this conference because I'm not talking about typography such as typography, more as a design element. So it's just an open dialogue. This is not, oh, this is how it needs to be done, but just to bring it awareness, what it needs to be. So these are all different type systems. One thing I noticed was, and Latin alphabet or Roman alphabet, it has been used, abused, skewed, turled, twisted, all things have been happening to it for a long time. And people in the country, in America, in Europe, or all other countries, who don't even speak English, they see those letters and they understand what the conceptual meanings are being happening, things are happening. So English, in that sense, is, the letter form is very easy to manipulate. People can accept it, how much, as far as you can push. There's a gray area, this is where this letter is legible, here this letter is not legible. And somewhere in between, there's great ideas that come. But what I found out of my friend, his wife is from Hong Kong, Mandarin, and they were talking about, and that's where it started this conversation about that, was that how rigid Mandarin is, and rules, and type, and a whole bunch of other things, forms and shapes. I know about Urdu, the rigidity about it. I am not from India, but I can speak Hindi, but I do not understand Hindi. I have a lot of Indian friends, so they verified the letters and if there's a mistake in some form, please excuse me also. It is more experimental than that. So, that's how we were thinking about the typography. My thinking was, let's go back to the basics, from cave painting, and I'm gonna go, not in the history. I'm not gonna tell you what was happening and what all that is. I think you all are probably aware of it. So it's just like, go to the basics, simple handwriting. If you go for that, charcoal, pencil, brush, any of those things, you use that, maybe there's something in that. And that's where I experimented, because I tried different, methods, and that seemed to be the only one, old time, it was bamboo pens and brushes and things like the same things were happening in China and India and all other cultures way back. That was the form of handwriting. Yes, in the West it was feathers, but that was basically, because the bamboos were more available, I suppose, on that part. So, traditional Urdu was done the same way. Chinese was done with a brush, more of it. They still do it, which is great. I remember when I was a kid, we had to sharpen our pencils in a very different way. We have to have a very solid, flat surface. And I don't know if anybody has done that. The pencil becomes very thick, and it works very well with Urdu Nastaliq style of writing. It becomes thicker and thinner, the pencil. And in my first, second, third grade, I remember my teacher, he would hit us with a little stick, on our fingers. Not too hard, because I would remember it. It was just like you're making a mistake. And it was very hard to do calligraphy as little kids, but we were taught. Unfortunately, from my high school, HSM college, they don't do it anymore. That's dying. That art is dying. And that's why I want to emphasize more on that also. So there were traditional ways. I would love to do this, how I see videos of how beautifully with the brush, people in China, Hong Kong, in the East, they just move their hands and beauty comes out of it. So to me, the hand is the main key, going back to the basics. In this technology age, I reject all technology. I hate technology. I don't want to do technology, but I have to use it. Obviously, there are advantages to it. When I was talking about Pakistan, I was at the right place at the right time. Believe it or not, I'm not a great designer, but I got promoted every year, literally doubling my salary, because there was a studio of 30 people, and I knew Photoshop. And that was the only thing I knew. And then there was, what was that? there's CorelDRAW, and there was another thing, Quark Express. So those were things that came later to me, but I could do what a studio couldn't do. So I was in demand. So now, and I want to talk a little bit about AI. I don't know much about it, but people are freaking out about AI. It's going to take your jobs. I don't think it's not. Photoshop did take the jobs, but AI will enhance and make creativity. Human creativity has to come, so it will definitely come. So what I started doing was I just said, okay, I'm going to pick up 4 different words. Very simple: water, ice, month, year. When you look at them, you can see the second column is Hindi. Notice that the language, the script is different, but the spoken words are the same. So in Hindi, barf means ice, and Urdu also, barf means ice. And then in Mandarin, it means bang. I'm not going to go to each every word and bore with you, but look at them, how different they are. And again, in English, I could have picked up very fancy fonts and things like that. I just picked up a basic font. Probably one of my favorites is Evanier. Still not done with it yet. Before that, it was Futura, and then Helvetica, all that stuff. But through the years, and I found, people told me that, I don't know if it happens with you guys, raise your hands if it does. For designers, we like 4 or 5 fonts, and then we don't want to move away from them. And then like 5, 10 years, you do that, and then you switch. So I don't know, people who are probably not as old as me anybody here, but we tend to do that. We change our mood, but we stick to some of the fonts. That doesn't mean we don't apply them, but it just goes around that. So these 4 lettered words, see how they're different they are. So the thing was, how can they possibly merge together? They're so different. So again, going back to the basics of break all the rules. I don't want to talk about typography. I don't want to be like a designer. I don't want to be in just like basic, break everything, forget about everything you know. Type as a design element, which I mentioned that, take type as like that, Roman alphabet is key because you can curve it, you can move it, you can twist it, you turn it. And this presentation, really most of it is with, English with Mandarin, Urdu with Mandarin, and Hindi and English. At some point, I'm sure I would like to see how Hindi and Mandarin can work together, or Urdu or Hindi can work together. Urdu and Hindi will be very interesting because they are like, spoken same way, but they are different, scripts for it also. So it is like, let's have fun with it. Whatever I do, I always want to have fun. One of the things I talk with my students and everybody, and there's this little side note about fun, is that you need to be happy right now. You need to be really good place to produce good work. If you're not, again, I'm not that Van Gogh kind of situation where, I'm going to cut my ear or anything like that. But to me, what works is I got to be happy. I have to be in a very good place to excel in what I do. I do feel nervous, challenged, despair, depression also, that all comes up, but which is part of the process where you put yourself, but really you gotta be happy about what you're doing. And so in a playful place, you can do that. Back to basic, natural, and the key word, which I always tell people is simple. I'm sure, I don't know if in English you've heard that expression kiss. We are in France, it's not kishy wishy smoochy. Anybody knows what kiss means, right? A lot of people know. Anybody knows what KISS means in design? Keep it simple, stupid. I think it's more of an American, right? Some of my students don't know that. So the KISS rule is keep it simple, stupid. There's a word for stupid, there's a reason for that, because it is really emphasizing that keep everything very simple. And a lot of things can come through chaos, trial, errors, but keep everything very simple. Modern design is simplicity also. Even though I went to Louvre and saw beautiful, beautiful places. 26 years back, I saw Versailles, and the French culture is amazing, but that time has bygone. I still have furniture, which is more classic French in my house, because I do like that part also. By the way, last person sitting over there is my wife, Saria, so I just want to bring her up there also. When I thought of furniture, we bought furniture together, so credit goes to her on that. So that was the simple thinking about that. So it's type treatment, and I'm going to go very fast until somebody has a question on that. So this is how, if you do with the brush, word for Hindi is water, which I said is pani. I'm using colors also. Basically, they're kind of, nationalistic colors. In India, orange is the main color. Green is for a lot of Muslim countries, and Pakistan definitely is part of their flag also. And then for Chinese, water. So these were the words, I just used the hands and word together. It's just like, how do you put them together and see if there's a similarity? And that's the result really is. So you put them together, and then suddenly it looks like they're both part of each other. See, the lowercase, the word pani and water is mixed up together. So these are like typographic posters. Again, it's a very, I think, different way of looking at things. Not your same way of doing things here. Again, like English can play around, we can curve and all those things like that. But when you see them, it's like, wait a minute, they look like they're part of the same font, right? There's some similarities right there, which we could have not thought before. So another type treatment was the word ice. This means barf in Urdu. Oh, in Hindi also it means barf. Chinese words I keep on forgetting. Mandarin. Maybe you can tell me. What? Bing?
Bing.
Bing. There you go. I have it written on my cell phone, but Bing. You'll probably make a quick translator on that then. So again, the type posters for that, for ice, barf. Again, it's just like putting them together. It's just like, did you ever look at it like that? So it's kind of interesting to see there's a possibilities. Again, this conversation, this topic it's a start. It's not like, hey, this is the way to do it. It is, let's start thinking differently. Could there possibility be for a language or fonts which can kind of become universal? And also there's a reason why I chose these languages also, between English, Roman alphabet, and Hindi and Mandarin and Urdu. I think you are probably talking about more than half the population of the world, which uses that. So imagine, I'm not saying this is it, but it's a start conversation about could there be a global language where people can understand, or one language can be merged with together and then it could be read. Because I know in Pakistan, we don't have fonts and alphabets that work I think in Persian and Arabic, they're already using that, with Adobe and a whole bunch of other font companies. We don't have that. So when people text me and they were talking in Urdu, they are texting in, I call it Urdish, which is English, but you have to start understanding, Mariam is smiling and laughing, she's my friend, I would say, from different parts. We were trying to hire her in the university, but this far away went away. But anyway, it is very, very important to see if there is a possibility like that. Could there be? And you all can take it from there and say, okay, you know what, there could be a possibility that something can come out of that. And that's the whole point of this part. So that's how the Chinese letters is merging together. So this is for the letter month. This means Mahina in Urdu. What does it mean?
Moon.
Moon.
Yeah, actually, moon and month.
Yeah, month. Okay, so I was close, that's right. I've been time tested right here, right now, if I had done my research properly. So the poster for month, again, same similarities of different letters. I wanted to do more, but I thought it would be so redundant. So 4 seemed to be enough to start the exploration process. One thing I noticed with Urdu, lowercase really works very well. And last but not least is the ear. And that's about it. Do contact me, call me. Anybody has any questions or challenges, disagreements, agreements?
Well, thank
Okay.
you very much. That was
Thank you.
some really refreshing perspective. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.